We saw a 46-minute video that was uploaded to Facebook yesterday where he reiterated a lot of his baseless claims about voter fraud. Talk to me about this video. What did he have to say? How does this square with reality in any way?
Well, it was extraordinary, Anne-Marie, and it came out yesterday afternoon, 46 minutes on Facebook, the president essentially saying that the election was rigged, making some of the same unfounded claims that have so far failed in court. Now, the president says that there is a mountain of evidence. In fact, he held up charts to illustrate how on election night certain vote totals came in at certain times. But again, judges have not bought into those arguments. He did not allege any new instances of fraud. He instead made insinuations of fraud, and insinuations that are based on the presumption of bad faith on the part of absentee voters. For example, in the state of Georgia, he alleged that if only the signatures on the envelopes could be checked, well, surely he would find fraud. If only you could look at some of the code on these machines in Michigan, for example, surely, he argued, you'd find evidence that the machines somehow switched Trump votes to Biden votes. But there's no actual evidence of any of that, and officials in each of the states in question have so far certified that, in fact, Joe Biden won those states. And in 6 weeks and 6 days, he will take the oath of office and become the 46th president. Now, the president is calling on the Supreme Court to step in and do, in his words, what's right for the country. He says that the country cannot live with this kind of an election. But it's a fait accompli. Joe Biden is the president-elect and will become the next president.
Indeed. And, you know, Donald Trump is still the president, which is why, you know, when he uploads a 46-minute video, as members of the media, we have to sort of acknowledge it and pay attention to it. But sometimes, you know, I wonder if it's worth giving it all that attention. And at times you get whiplash, Steve, because there are other things that are coming out of the White House that are equally as worthy of attention, like this story, these reports that the president is floating or asking about preemptively pardoning members of his own family, his oldest children, and possibly preemptively pardoning himself. So, of course, the question is, pardon from what? No one's been charged, at least yet, right?
That's exactly right. And for what? No one has been charged is exactly right. Now, we know a couple of things. We know that Donald Trump Jr. was investigated as part of the Mueller probe because he met in 2016 with a Russian who offered help in the election against Hillary Clinton. But ultimately, Robert Mueller decided not to charge Donald Trump Jr. We know, and we learned something very interesting this week, that Ivanka Trump was deposed in a civil case being brought by the D.C. Attorney General having to do with the spending of the presidential inaugural committee back in 2016 and early 2017. Allegations that money was misspent. But there's no suggestion that Ivanka Trump was uniquely or personally involved in any wrongdoing. There's also, of course, been the speculation that the president might issue a self-pardon. And legal experts say there's no way to know whether that would work because it's never been tried. The example that people point to most often when you talk to legal experts is the unconditional and blanket pardon that Gerald Ford issued on behalf of Richard Nixon in 1974, that essentially absolved him of any kind of guilt of any crime he may have committed over the course of his presidency. That's the closest analog to the discussion that's occurring now when it comes to what the president might do with respect to himself.
He did pardon, though, Michael Flynn, and there have been others who have been charged in connection with the Mueller probe. Is there anyone else, because we've been told that the president may indeed go on a pardoning spree on his way out, anyone else who could possibly benefit from one of his pardons?
Well, for years now, there's been speculation that the president might pardon his former, one-time campaign chairman Paul Manafort, convicted in 2018 of a number of charges of bank and tax fraud having to do with conduct that occurred before he was involved intimately with Donald Trump's campaign. The president has, since the conviction, since he was charged, praised Manafort and said he was treated unfairly. Manafort is now on home confinement as a result of the COVID pandemic and has been released from prison on that basis. But really, he is the one big name that people are looking to see whether the president might issue any additional pardons of people who have been convicted over the span of his presidency.
All right, before I let you go, I've got to ask you about the president-elect. Joe Biden is expected to announce his choice for Health and Human Services Secretary. Very important position considering what the country's going through. Do we know who the Biden team is considering?
There are two big names that are being mentioned by Biden aides to CBS News. Gina Raimondo is the Rhode Island governor, and Vivek Murthy, the former Surgeon General, who's been an aide to the president-elect on COVID matters. Biden aides tell CBS News that those are the two top contenders for the Health and Human Services position. But I will tell you, Anne Marie, that we're hearing from civil rights organizations that are concerned that Joe Biden has not had enough diversity in his picks so far. Particularly, the NAACP and the Urban League are publicly complaining that there have not been enough senior positions given to African American men and women. The organizations say they're hearing from their members who they say are watching this very closely, that there are not enough black men and women who've been appointed to top positions. Now, the Biden campaign transition responds by saying, well, wait until we show you the full slate of nominees to these key posts, and certainly everyone will be assuaged and their concerns will be addressed. Latino groups, with respect to the Department of Health and Human Services, would like to see the New Mexico governor, Michelle Lujan Grisham, given that post. Before she served in Congress, she was New Mexico's health secretary. Lujan Grisham was apparently approached for the Interior secretary position, but she decided, or reportedly decided, according to our sources, that she wasn't particularly interested in that role. Again, Latino groups are hoping that she gets the nod for HHS.
Well, you know, the president-elect thanked a number of minority groups for getting him to this point, to becoming the next president. And now, you know, those groups want a seat at the table. We'll see how it all unfolds as he continues to make appointments. Stephen, thank you so much.
You bet.